Open the show like that. I would rather draft kickers than tight ends. On this episode, we're going to talk about tight. Welcome to another episode of the Happy Hour podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the great tight end position. I've got the hottest of hot takes about this position. There's a certain guy in this position that I'm just very hardcore against. I can't wait to talk about him. My rankings, I do believe, really kind of hone in on that as well. But there's one guy that I really love that I think is going to surprise a lot of people this year as well. As always, I am joined by my partner here, Mr. Matthew Fox. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Tight end is a tough nut to crack, especially since last year I think they said it was 25 points separated tight end 6 from tight end 18. So
yeah,
not a lot of difference in the soft middle.
Yeah, it's kind of ugly. I mean, let's be real. It's really ugly. It's always been that way. It'll continue to be that way. I think there's the top echelon, and I think if you don't get one of those guys, I personally, if I don't get Kelsey or Kittle or Waller, then I'm waiting. And I think pitch is going really high right now too. Which is fine. You know what I mean? You know, draft your guy, draft him wherever you want to. I really don't care. I'm not going that high on certain guys, but especially tight end. I mean, obviously tight end premium league is a little bit different. But without further ado, we're going to go to one of our favorite segments. All of our segments are our favorite segments, guys, just letting you know. But this segment this week is going to be the games of the week. We got the first full week of preseason ahead of us. Everybody understands. I don't really need to say much other than I'm on the Mac Jones bandwagon. I've been on that bandwagon back before it was cool. I just want to throw that out there as well. I have been on this bandwagon. If you watched last night, he looked good. The thing about it is when I hear on Twitter, oh, it's against the garbage cans. Well, you know what? You guys ranted and raved about Justin Fields in the second half throwing against garbage cans. So if you do it with Justin Fields and don't complain about garbage cans, do not complain about the garbage cans that Mac Jones is throwing against. So that's my only take of the entire thing. I am part of the I like Justin Fields. I do. But Mac Jones gets way overblown, just bashed for no reason. He just gets hatred for no reason. And it's starting to bug me. I just want Mac Jones. I just want nobody wants to see the Patriots win the Super Bowl. I'm a Tom Brady guy, not a Patriot. You know what I mean? I was a Tom Brady guy. I've been a Tom Brady guy for a long time. But just let Mac Jones win a Super Bowl now. That's all I really care about now. You know what I mean? Like, take the Patriots, put them in the Super Bowl this year. I don't really care. Just to shut people up. You know what I mean? But I digress. I'm off my Mac Jones is the man bandwagon. But and one other thing on this topic. Sorry, I said I was it, but the one big thing that Twitter and social media as a whole have really got to get better control over, and it took me a little bit to try to remember this as well, is separating real football versus fantasy football. Now, if you don't like Mac Jones in fantasy, that's fine. And it might be justifiably so because of how they might structure that offense. But Mac Jones could be a good on-the-field quarterback, but just an okay fantasy guy. Like, it's separate, right? You know what I mean? You have to be able to separate the two. Like, when I do my process, I rank my guys dependent on, this is what I think the draft class, whenever I did my quarterbacks, this is what my draft class, but my draft class versus my fantasy football is two totally different things, right? Because Mac Jones, trying to remember, was my number 3 quarterback in this draft, right? Football-wise. But Mac Jones, fantasy football-wise, I think was my quarterback 5 or 6 because there's the rushing upside of some of these other guys, and you warm up to other guys because of landing spots potentially as well. So when it came down to it, Mac Jones was my number 3 quarterback, but my number 5 or 6 quarterback in fantasy football. You've got to be able to separate the two, and I think that Twitter puts it all together, and it's far from that. There's good football players, good wide receivers, there's good running backs, there's good tight ends. Like the Bucks have 4 good running backs. None of them are going to probably be fantasy relevant. You know what I mean? It's okay to differentiate both of those guys, both of the areas of what I'm talking about right now. Sorry, Matt. I didn't mean to go on a rant to start the show, but
look, my big takeaway from last night is Joe Flacco's elite. Clearly. Did you? So probably not a great sign either for Jalen Hurts.
He got
It's a
hurt,
great
right?
sign for him that Nick Mullins and Joe Flacco look the way they did, because that pretty well solidifies his spot unless they trade for Watson. But they said some kind of a stomach infection.
Yeah.
Curious as to what that is. It's going to be a long season for the Eagles, I suspect.
Their defense is terrible.
But
And
I'll be curious if they do roll with Mac Jones. Not that he hasn't looked good, but Cam Newton quietly was
he looked good
fine
too.
too. 8
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
9, 103.
I think Cam starts. I do.
Yeah.
I do think Cam starts the season. I just think that if Cam struggles a week or two, then they're going to be quick to pull that plug.
Well, and I still suspect the Patriots are going to be kind of a middle of the pack team. And as you get deeper in the season, if you're not really solidified as a lock into the playoffs, there's more of a chance. I think that's where we're potentially going to see Mac Jones, or we're potentially going to see Trey Lance, is if those 49ers and the Patriots are just kind of hanging around the middle of the pack and are far from locks for making the playoffs. They're going to try to put in the younger players and get them experience.
I could potentially see a couple of them running the same way that the Dolphins did. And even if they are winning, you know what I mean? Because Jimmy G and Trey Lance are two polar opposite quarterbacks, like not even remotely in the same ballpark. I do think that people give Jimmy G way too much slander than I think he deserves, because he is a decent football quarterback. And I do think that he's been hurt with not just injuries to himself, but injuries to that team. I don't really feel like they've ever been 100% healthy. When they do, they win football games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They do win football games. But they're two totally different quarterbacks. Speaking of that, I'm not to spoil one of your games, the Trey Lance versus Justin Herbert game, that's not going to happen because Justin Herbert's not going to play.
We may. I was hoping coming into the second week, but the biggest thing for me is, every week really enjoy Sunday Night Football, kind of closing out Sundays, and Monday Night Football. The end of the long. Nobody's incredibly wild about Mondays. And here in the second full week of the preseason, we get both those back. Sunday Night Football will be on the NFL Network. It's 49ers at the Chargers. Been kind of curious to see what Brandon Staley and this new group's going to do with the Chargers. Want to get a look at Trey Lance, Jimmy G, Trey Sermon, just to everyone. So I thought that was going to be a good matchup. It's kind of nice for Sunday night. It's the only game. Most of the preseason games this week are actually tomorrow on Saturday. There's a ton of games from morning to night. So if you want to catch, I think doing another 4 live games on NFL Network. I think there's a live game on Fox tonight too. I can't remember who it is. But then my other game I highlighted, highlight might be the wrong word, but Monday Night Football, we're getting the Jaguars and the Saints. A lot of questions about Jacksonville. The fact that they're hedging about whether they think Gardner Minshew should start didn't feel like a great sign for presumptive Rookie of the Year, Trevor Lawrence. Would like to see him. Would like to see that running back split. Apparently, I've been told by fantasy Twitter that Laviska Shenault is going to be wide receiver 1 this year, and that there's never been a greater player in the history of time. I'd like to see maybe him catch a pass. I'm still on the Chark bandwagon right now, but also,
how are you going to be wide receiver 1 when you're probably not even going to be wide receiver 2 on your team in fantasy? I'm sorry. I believe in Marvin Jones as a very formidable wide receiver 3 on your fantasy rosters this year, because this team's probably going to be playing from behind a lot.
Yeah.
And he's going to need a veteran security blanket, and that's going to be Chark and Jones. It's not going to be Laviska Shenault. Sorry, guys. I loved Laviska. I liked him coming out of college, but
I still feel like Shenault and Etienne are going to eat into each other's workload, playing a similar kind of but perhaps bigger questions is the team Jacksonville is playing, which is the New Orleans Saints. Me and Matt Bruning were talking about yesterday. Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston were so unimpressive in the first game that the people were seriously talking about Ian Book having a shot at getting the starting job. And you're laughing for the same reason I'm laughing. I mean, most people were like, "Oh, Ian Book, what a what a deep reclamation project that's going to be for Sean Payton, and he was arguably the one that looked better. We also don't know if they have a professional receiver on the Saints roster. Michael Thomas is out. Traquan Smith's been injured. Deontay Harris looks like he's going to get a DUI suspension. So that leaves Marquez Callaway. They re-signed Chris Hogan, trying to resurrect White Lightning there on the outside. And Ty Montgomery has moved permanently from running back to receiver. Apparently that's why they signed Devonta Freeman to be their third running back, because Ty Montgomery has been shifted back to being a wide receiver. They, full stop, may have the worst wide receiver core in the NFL until they get Michael Thomas back. I mean, Detroit was not great. Houston, plenty of questions. Houston at least has Brandon Cooks. Detroit has Amon-Ra St. Brown. They could have Tyrell Williams if he can ever get off the IR. At least they have TJ Hawkinson. The Saints.
Adam Troutman, baby. I'm on that bandwagon.
That's a lot of pressure to put on a second-year player from Dayton who only saw 16 targets as a rookie. It's going to be a lot of pressure for that whole team. They've won the NFC South 4 years in a row. I did not think they were going to win the NFC South this year, but the way they're kind of scuffling and struggling, it may be Sean Payton's greatest coaching challenge. I think they could end up being a team for me that I end up dropping out of my playoff predictions.
Are they in your playoff predictions?
They were earlier, but as the injuries have piled up and I've been re-looking at and rethinking things, it wouldn't take much to drop from a 9 to 11 win range to a 7 to 9 win range. And even in the NFC, I don't think that's going to be enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to look at right now. Okay, so their over under is 9 right now in Vegas. All right, this is me. This is a segment that I plan on doing during the middle of the season. Or throughout the season, folks, smash the under on this line. I do not see a scenario where the Saints win 9 games this year. They don't have a quarterback. They have a tight end, and they have a guy that is, I don't know what Jameis Winston is, but I'm not going to call him a tight end, but he's not a quarterback. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Yes, he was very, relevant in the year of 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, but the 30 interceptions are key. And in Tampa, he really didn't have any competition. He starts throwing interceptions. Taysom Hill's coming onto the football field 1,000%.
Or Ian Book.
Ian Book is not a quarterback either. He's I don't know what he is.
Well, I was almost wondering if they make Jameis Winston the nominal starter because they need Taysom Hill to play receiver. Well, I mean, seriously, he was a decently productive tight end at times with Drew Brees, sure. And they've got some issues.
I really think that he's going to do some sort of dual quarterback thing with these guys, and it's going to make neither one of them relevant. Which I'm not drafting either anyway. So I think
that's what everyone thinks. I think that's why everyone's quarterback rankings, because Jameis Winston, we've seen him finish as quarterback 3 for fantasy. You don't have to be a good player to be a good fantasy producer. Blake Bortles rolled top 10 almost every year that he was a starter, and he was never incredibly good. But I'm with you. If they pulled Drew Brees off the field for Taysom Hill, they're really not going to have a problem pulling Jameis Winston off the field for Taysom Hill.
Can we just get one play this year where we have Hill, Book, and Winston on the field at the same time?
Challenge accepted. Sean Payton's sitting there. He's like, you know what?
Wait a minute. You know what? I was listening to the happy hour. This is a good idea.
And, and on that one play, they do a reverse, and Kamara throws it down the field to Troutman.
We're going to share with you guys our top 12 tight ends. Yes, there is 12 tight ends in football. Are they all draftable? Poof, that's debatable. Go ahead and kick us off with your 12 through 7, Mr. Fox.
Yeah, so first I pulled it up just to look. So last year, Kelsey was by far and away number 1, 312 points. The number 3 tight end, which was Tanyan, 176 points, and these are PPR points. The number 20 tight end, Dallas Goedert, was 116 points. So there was only a 60-point total spread between tight end 3 and tight end 20. So basically, what I'm saying is there are 2 or 3 elite options, and then the rest you're just kind of hoping for some hit and miss weeks. For me, I have Travis Kelce at the top at number 1, and then Darren Waller is number 2 for me. That was the 1-2 finishers last year. I have George Kittle at 3. Kittle is a guy who I think talent-wise has the talent to be number 1 overall. 2 questions for me have always been, can he stay on the field? Because he's a real battering ram as a player, and he gives it his all, and that's what makes him fun to watch, but it also puts him at risk. And then I'm not entirely sold on the 49ers quarterback and passing game, and they actually have a few more options now with Deebo Samuel for however many games he can stay on the field, and Brandon Ayuk. So then beyond that, there's a couple other guys that I feel pretty decent about. Hawkinson in Detroit is my number 4. I'm not a huge Jared Goff believer, but as I mentioned earlier, Detroit has no receivers. Then I have Mark Andrews. I still think he's going to be the top target for the Ravens. Then the rest of my top 12 is kind of guys that, I have hopes for. I still have Dallas Goedert at 6. The longer we don't have Zach Ertz move, the more paranoid I get about that. And also I saw Joe Flacco yesterday. So I'm not feeling good about it, but I'm not pulling the plug yet. Then I have Kyle Pitts. I think he's going to have a good season, but Calvin Ridley is going to be the number 1 there. And I think there's going to be growing pains. Noah Fant, not sure he has a professional quarterback. Irv Smith, I like him to take a step up, but not sure about that passing game. Logan Thomas had a great year last year. I think he's going to be solid, but there are plenty of other options in Washington as well. Then I have Jonnu Smith, who I think finishes the best of the Patriots tight ends, but I think he and Hunter Henry will cannibalize each other a little bit. I have Henry at 13. Hunter Henry was a top 12 tight end last year. Jonnu Smith was not. Mike Gesicki is my 12 that I have in between them. And I don't feel great about that because I don't know how high volume it's going to be, and they have now 95 wide receivers.
They really do. It's kind of crazy to me. I look at this. I have Kittle 1. I think Kittle's going to finish as the number 1 tight end this year. I really do. Obviously, everything I'm saying is contingent on his health. But Kelce, Kittle, and Waller easily 1, 2, and 3. I really don't care how you rank them. If you had Waller 1, I wouldn't even be mad at you. I do think Waller has more of a predicament where he's got a lot more weapons to compete with, which kind of is frustrating because he should be the vocal point of that offense.
I don't know. They secretly have terrible wide receivers too.
Well, no, Bryan Edwards is good. I don't care. I'm going to beat that drum until I'm dead. But they have a lot of receivers. They just don't have a number 1 receiver. That's their big problem. And Henry Ruggs is going to stink for a long time in fantasy, like I said he would for the last year and a half. After that, Pitts is 4. I think that's like the universal slot for him for a lot of people, not Matthew Fox, because he's just difficult. No, I'm just kidding. Number 5, Mark Andrews. I can't not put this guy in that spot. You know what I mean? I feel like yearly and in drafts that I've been in, he's been just pushed down the radar. It's like, guys, they're just like the Raiders. They have a bunch of receivers. None of them are good. You know what I mean? Like, if you really think Sammy Watkins is coming to save the day, you guys got real problems, okay? Sammy Watkins is not a good wide receiver, all right? Or he's a good receiver. He's not a good fantasy receiver. But with that being said, I think Big Bob Tonyan is being overlooked big time. I'm sorry, my rankings, I've gone all over the place here. I skipped everybody I liked here. Sorry. So number 4 was Kyle Pitts. Number 5 is the one guy, and I'm just going to throw it out here. This is my guy. This is the guy I was going to talk about later. I'm going to talk about Jonnu Smith. I have him at number 5. I love Smith. I think we're looking at double-digit touchdowns. That alone for me puts him in that top 5 spot. I think that he's going to lead the pack for the Patriots as far as touchdown goes. I do think if he was there by himself, he would probably be my number 2 or 3 tight end, but without him being, they don't have any other weapons either. They don't have any receivers. You know what I mean? So I really don't think that they have receivers. So their receivers are going to be Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. I think that there's going to be enough to go around for Jonnu for him to produce in a level that I think he's going to finish the year easily in the tight end 1 scenario. But I mean, obviously to do is just finish in the top 12. You know what I mean? There's not really that many, but I see I see easily a top 8 performance out of him this year. It would not surprise me to see him in the top 5. That's why he's up there for me. That's where I had Mark Andrews at number 6. I had number 7. I got Bob Tonyan, who I think is being slept on. Another team that has a receiver and the rest of them is what it is. I think Rodgers got a chip on his shoulder even more so than he did last year. I don't know how many more chips he's going to have before, but I think that he's fantasy relevant. It's going to make Big Bob in there, and it's not going to take much.
He's got some huge grooves in his shoulder bone now.
The thing about it is you don't have to do much to finish in the top 12 as a tight end, right? You know what I mean? So it's that's why I like Big Bob. Hawkinson, I struggled with him. I had him high, I had him low. I flip-flopped him and Jonnu quite often, and him, Jonnu and Bob, that I went through those three guys, and I was not sure where to land on any of those guys. But Jonnu, like I said, I like a little bit more. But Hawkinson, I like Goff. I think Goff's going to be serviceable. I don't think he's going to be a fantasy quarterback, but I think he'll be serviceable for the Lions. He's not going to turn the ball over a ton. They're going to run the ball a lot probably, but Hawkinson's is going to be the security blanket. They don't have any receivers either. Irv Smith Jr., I don't know what to do with this guy. Either he has a good year this year, or I'm just going to throw him at the dumpster because
that's the one in our top that we have in the exact same position.
Same exact spot. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do with him. Noah Fant, I wish I can rank him higher. My biggest concern with Fant is they have a loaded receiving core in Denver. They really have some good weapons top to bottom. You know what I mean? Like outside of Judy and Sutton, they have Hamler. They have I'm missing somebody.
Tim Patrick.
That guy. He just steals stuff just to steal stuff. I think Tim Patrick is the fantasy, he's a fantasy running back relevant of whoever steals touchdowns every year, that guy. Number 11, I've got Dallas Goedert. I'm done. I don't want to hear about him. I don't want to talk about the guy. Unless Zach Ertz is gone, he's not finishing where he is being projected. Well, he might be a tight end one. Sure. I don't know. But listen to me. As long as Zach Ertz is there, I'm not drafting this guy in the top 5 of these tight ends. I can't do it, period. First off, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. Did you see they gave up 36 points last night? 36. They scored 0, but, Mr. Elite was.
Or are you supposed to score points?
I don't know. Maybe not. Do you know what I mean? But
all those Nick Mullins truthers have also gone back into their caves.
Oh, Jesus God. He couldn't even beat the trash cans. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. But the thing about it is I can't do this. I can't rank him high. If Zach Ertz gets traded, I will move Goddard up my rankings, period, because they're going to throw the football. But if you notice, these two men were on the field last week with Hurts. Hurts looked at Ertz. You know what I mean? Hurts to Ertz. There's something there. But
he did have good chemistry with Goddard when he started last year.
But wasn't Ertz hurt?
It's so hard to tell.
Ertz was hurt, though. I thought Ertz was hurt a little bit last year.
Some, yeah.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, like I said, but the thing about it, if Ertz is on the field, he's getting targets. May not get a lot of them, but any target he gets is one that's going away from Dallas Goedert, right? You know what I mean? Every one that he's on the football field, I see that happening. And, of course, coming in at number 12, Logan Thomas is another guy. I think him and Big Bob are getting just slandered, and I'm not sure why. I like Fitz. I do agree with you. The reason he is 12 and not higher is because just like I feel like a lot of these teams, they have 95 wins. They do have a 1. They have Terry McLaurin, who.
But I think Curtis Samuel gets underrated by a lot of people. That's part of
Wasn't he hurt, though?
Curtis Samuel
was hurt. Yeah, Curtis Samuel's hurt. But it doesn't matter. Either way, if he's on the football field, I do think that he's going to play anyway. You know what I mean?
So I will say that I have Tonyan at 14. What scares me about Robert Tonyan is he had a good season, but he was insanely historically efficient. He only got 56 targets. Sure. He caught 52, 11 for touchdowns. I would agree with you that I don't think the Packers have a great set of complementary receivers. But it's Devontae Adams, then it's Aaron Jones, and then, would I be surprised to see Tonyan lose out some of those touchdown opportunities to a guy like Randall Cobb? I would not. And
no, I wouldn't be surprised either.
If his touchdowns come back to more like 5 or 6, that would probably be enough. He doesn't seem like they're pumping enough volume at the tight end position. He was making his on catching everything thrown at him, most of them for touchdowns.
Hey, I like it because he's got the best. He's probably got what? He obviously has the best quarterback of everybody in the top 12. Yes, he's still better than Patrick Mahomes. I don't care what you say, people. All right. Well, I have already revealed my my underrated and overrated guy, because my overrated guy is Dallas Goedert, and my underrated guy is Jonnu Smith. As you can see, their placement in my rankings, I have Jonnu Smith 5, and I have Dallas Goedert 11. Give me your two guys.
I think my underrated guy is probably the one that I feel like has some potential to go up there is Troutman for the Saints. He's another one that was insanely efficient. He caught 15 of his 16 targets, didn't have a small sample size. I currently have him at tight end 15, but I wouldn't be surprised given the dearth of options in New Orleans if they can put it together that he ends up bouncing up higher, because Jared Cook last year caught a lot of touchdowns, and that impediment is out of the way. They don't have a incredible receiving core, and even if they want to run Kamara till his legs fall off and throw 150 targets at him, they're still going to need some other people. They're in a Division II where you're going to have to put up points. So I think he's somebody that could rise. The one that I get your argument for Jonnu Smith, but he's probably the one that I'm steering a little bit clear of.
Well, I'm steering clear of you, Matthew Fox.
He has potential, and one of those guys could break out. I have him and Hunter Henry a lot closer bunched together than you do, because I have a feeling that they do use both of them, and that Henry ends up being kind of the yardage guy. And I ended up popping Smith for points in the offseason. I had Hunter Henry higher, but I ended up popping Smith higher because I think he'll probably get a lot of red zone looks, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hunter Henry ends up with more receptions and yardage. And so unless he clearly takes over, I'm not sure New England has a super high volume passing offense either.
Hey, you know what? I'm really not okay with this slander right now, but well, it's your opinion.
Tight end is it
really is.
It's really hard to say anyone's under or overrated, because we talked about a 60-point swing was all that separated tight end 3 from tight end 20.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to me how it's a crapshoot, and that's why I'm waiting. I've been waiting in all of my drafts for tight ends. I'm going to pick a guy, and hopefully he scores me 5 points. You know what I mean? I'm not even trying to get a damn. I know. I'm not even trying to get double digits. You know what I mean? Maybe give me 5 to 8 weekly, and I'm good to go.
Sadly, in our best ball league, there was a tight end run before I managed to get a tight end, so I'm now riding with Zach Ertz, and I don't know if I'm hoping he gets traded to Buffalo or stays in Philadelphia.
I'll tell you what, that's what we're going to – I'm on the clock. I didn't even realize I was on the clock while we're here. What we're going to do, I think this should be done by next week. Maybe we'll break it down on next week's show. I'll draft in a second. I'll lose my train of thought. But for those of you listening at home, that's going to be it for the fantasy football portion of our podcast. Next week, I have no clue what we're going to talk about. I just show up. Matthew Fox does all the grunt work.
Probably going to talk about the NFC.
Oh, the NFC. Oh, yeah, we're going to start doing our playoff predictions and stuff like that. Oh, I'm excited about this. Maybe next week I'll actually
thinking about how sad the Saints situation is.
I will definitely be back next week with some sports betting for you guys. After this week, I really feel comfortable diving into the bets, because week 3 of preseason will be much like week 4 of years past, where it's going to be a lot of guys trying to cling on to roster spots. We're not going to see a lot of good players.
That is an open question, because they were talking about they think it's going to stay like it has been week 3 in the past, and you're going to get starters for over a half. This is our first year experiencing 3 preseason games. I thought they were going to shift kind of where starters play a majority of it up to week 2, but it doesn't seem like it's happening at this point.
Well, I look at it this way. If you're dumb enough to start your guys a week before the season starts, then you're stupid. And if I place any bets, I should be able to take my bets back, because the coaches are stupid. But next week I will have some good over-unders for the NFC that I like. I might throw a couple of other, offensive player of the years and other wagers your way over the next couple weeks. I'm pretty excited to be able to do that for you guys. But this week I'm going to sit down and kind of really hone in on the NFC, go through my grid that I do every year, do the wins and losses, how I feel like it's going to end up. Share that with you guys so that you can make fun of me at the end of the year. I'm very excited about that as well. But here on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour Fantasy Football Podcast, we are all about transparency. Hence why we have made that Excel spreadsheet so you can follow along every week throughout the year. I'm pretty excited about that as well. And then you can make fun of some of, John O. Smith not being in the top 5 because it's going to happen. But you can make fun of me in case it doesn't. But we all know it's going to. But with that being said, make sure to head on over to the Music City Drive. And we've been pumping out the team previews like crazy. Check those out for us right now. And as we transition into the movie corner, we're going to talk about one movie real quick off the bat. We talked about this on the most recent episode of the Music City Drive-In podcast. That was Free Guy. Quick thoughts on that, Mr. Fox.
I thought it was really fun. Probably going to be the last kind of fun summer blockbuster that we get, because as we get ready to turn the corner, once you hit Labor Day, you're kind of out of the summer movie season. Not sure what to make of the Marvel movie we're getting on Labor Day weekend, but Free Guy I thought it was a lot funnier and a lot more entertaining than I was expecting.
Yeah, I liked it. My biggest takeaway from the whole entire thing is we should never see Taika Waititi act ever again. Him being in the movie took me out of the movie, which completely kind of makes the rest of the movie fall flat for me. I loved it. There was the jokes hit more than they don't. The cameos are great. Outside of that, though, it's brutal. There's a movie coming out today on VOD, releasing in some theaters, I do believe, as well. It's called Habit, and I've got some thoughts. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna let you. You know what? Do you want me to kick it off, or do you want to go first, or how do you want to do this?
I'm just gonna say, I read the liner notes about what they were going for. And good on them for trying to make a Quentin Tarantino movie. I've seen a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies. None of them sat like this for me. This movie, I currently, spoiler alert, I will have some more humorous lines when it releases a little bit later today, but it's the worst movie of the year so far for me. I dropped it to number 1 on my bottom 5 list. Nothing about it works for me. The performances were odd. The stories were odd. It seemed like they were trying to make a profound religious statement that was deeply unsettling to me. There was a lot of what am I watching moments for me. And it's only 81 minutes, and I probably had 79 minutes of why am I watching this moments.
Speaking of Habit, I have an interview with the writer and star of the film, Libby Mintz. She was
fantastic. Who seemed like a delightful girl.
She's a delightful conversation. We had a great chat about the film. If you want to check that out, you can go over to the NashvilleNoise.com to check out that interview. Recommendations for the weekend.
Oh, I see. You're just bailing on. Ricky is recommending Habit's going to be in his top 10. I take it from it's complete silence. No, it is really hard when you meet people pour so much of themselves, and I respect the effort. Not every movie lands for every person.
No, it doesn't. It's not a good movie, and I enjoyed the conversation that I did have with her, and the reason they created it was because they weren't getting the opportunities that they were hoping for, which I totally get and understand.
So in some ways, it's like the crime version of Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, something like that. With that being said, I have seen 2 of the movies that are dropping this week. I did 2, yes. So there's a laundry list of movies that are out this week outside of
Habit. 3 that open this week.
Have I seen 3?
Annette, Sweet Girl, and Protege.
Oh, I don't know what it is, but I keep on forgetting about Annette. But so Sweet Girl's dropping on Netflix. I watched that last night. One of the worst movies of the year. It's terrible. It's almost as bad as the movie you mentioned. It really is. It's terrible.
I'm just mad that all these movies now are coming to try to force me to drop Cherry out of my bottom 5. How dare you?
Cherry's terrible too.
It's not been a good year for some.
The Protege comes out today in theaters. If you're looking for a movie to check out in theaters, I highly recommend this one. I went into this one with very, very low expectations. The first 15 minutes are rather rough, but the moment Michael Keaton comes into the scene and for the rest of the movie, it is really good. Like it's It's pretty. Look, I'm not going to say it's one of the best movies of the year. It's not. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is it's a very enjoyable film. If you're looking for something to watch this weekend in theaters, it's a little bit different. You can watch Reminiscence or whatever at the house on HBO Max if you want to. I've heard it's good. I've heard Night House is good, which I really want to see that this weekend. I'm going to probably go see that in theaters this weekend. But with that being said, I really like The Protege. Michael Keaton, I think, has gotten better with age with his acting. I really do. Like, he's just phenomenal. Like, even in Trial Chicago 7, he was in it for 30 seconds last year. Phenomenal. You know what I mean? Phenomenal. So,
yeah, Kenzie thought he should get the best supporting actor, and he was that good in that movie.
He was. And that's the movies coming out this weekend. Don't go see Don't Breathe 2. Don't waste your money.
There's also Paw Patrol you can watch at home on Paramount TV Plus if you have small children or just in a Paw Patrol frame of mind.
Listen. I've heard the movie's good. Okay. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of the reviews out in the world, but there's rumors going around that Paw Patrol is a good movie. I don't know if they're true or not because I have not seen it, nor will I not see it, even though Matthew Fox fought for that to be this week's Music City Drive-In consensus rankings pick, which I still haven't even picked a movie because honestly, I don't really know there's one movie that stands out. This might be a week where we just skip it or something. I have an idea for the podcast this weekend. I haven't really revealed it to anybody yet, but I'm trying to figure that out in my head. I've just got a lot going on on my plate right now. So
I'm just going to throw out Ted Lasso. Good episode this week. If you enjoy romantic comedies are the theme. I challenge you, as I did for my recap, to try to figure out all the homages that they're making to different romantic comedy films, the way they do lines. Ted Lasso continues to be a creative delight. Episode 5 dropped today. And, if you're also on Apple, I know Ricky and I have slightly different opinion. I dearly love Schmigadoon, which is 6 episodes. They're all available now. They're a half hour each. It's like about a 3-hour commitment. I thought it was delightful.
Another one, Truth Be Told, season 2 just dropped, and I wrote a review on it over at the Music City Drive-In. I saw somebody commented on Reddit. They said the first episode was better than the entire first season, and I wouldn't disagree with them. I do think they do a great job of setting up this season in the first episode. I can't wait to watch 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm also looking forward to checking out 9 Perfect Strangers or whatever it is.
Yeah, you can wait.
Yeah, I've heard it's okay, but I heard it's not that great. But also, if you're looking for the best show to binge watch, all episodes are live on HBO Max, baby. Go watch White Lotus. It is one of the best TV shows. The ending was I wish the ending was a little bit better, but I don't know what it was about that show, but I was hooked weekly. And I know it's different, it's unique, and the storytelling's weird. And I had a lot of people tell me, dude, you're an idiot, the show sucks. And I'm just like, I was engulfed in the story. I'm ready for season 2. I want this to turn into the Knives Out of the TV world, where I get 1 season a year, different cast, different location, different story, but same idea. And I really, I really enjoyed it. That's all I can say about that. Is that everything? There's a lot coming out this weekend. Golly.
Yep, but if you're only going to watch one thing, I think Ricky would tell you it's got to be Habit.
100% check out. If you watch Habit this weekend, do us a favor and let us know your thoughts of the film below. If you like it, good for them. I'm excited for Libby Mintz, their project. It's a passion project. Good for them. I hope one day that I make a passion project as amazing as this one. Make sure to head on over.
Roger Ebert's one movie that he wrote was Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. I've seen it. I know why he became a critic.
I'll tell you what. I did my top 25. This is a random tidbit. I did my top 25 movies of the 80s. I wrote it for Hidden Remote. It's over there on hiddenremote.com. Funny enough, when I did that, I found out my number 1 movie was Color of Money. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. I don't know what it is about it. Paul Newman's great. Tom Cruise is great. Scorsese directed it. It's the only film Siskel and Robert ever gave of Scorsese a thumbs down.
Huh.
they both didn't like the film. It was when I was doing my research, it was crazy when I found that out. I was like, it was the only film of Scorsese's they both just gave it the big old.
My favorite coffee table book for a long time was I got the Your Movie Sucks, which was a collection of his 0 and 1-star reviews from Roger Ebert. There's movies in there that I own that I love. I mean, nothing is more subjective than film. So when we say we love things, we say we hate things, people feel different. Even among I wish you could see sometimes the back and forth we have just with the 8 to 10 of us who are watching and ranking things for the Music City Drive-In. Nothing's more subjective.
Yeah, exactly. Matthew Fox has Coda as his #1 film of the year, and I think that he's completely wrong. So it's cool.
I can't even remember what yours was.
My #1 movie of the year? What is my #1 movie of the year right now? Hang on.
It's probably something I haven't seen yet.
I think it might be. On the count of 3.
It's 9 Lives.
Huh?
Or it's 9 days, isn't it?
9 Lives.
Sorry, it's.
Yeah, so my top 5. Well, Coda's in my top 10 still, but my top 10: 9 Days, On the Count of 3, and Mass. Those 3 On the Count of 3 and 9 Days flip flop every day. What my favorite movie of the year is, but those top 3 films are the top echelon of films that have come out this year: Quiet Place, Sound of Violence, Cruella, Coda. Everybody's talking about Jamie, which comes out in a few weeks. Zola and Shiva Baby are my top 10 right now. So, and I fully expect at the end of the year, only 3 of those films will be in my top 10 at the end of the year. And it's the top 3 that are sitting there right now. I don't believe that they won't be my top 3. They might not be my top 3, but they will probably still be in the top 10. On the Count of 3 was personal to me. So
I released my top 10 of the year so far right on July 1st. And since that point in time, I'm pretty sure there's only 4 of those movies that are still in there.
Yeah, for me, I think the big difference for me is I obviously saw Coda, Mass, and On the Count of 3 at Sundance. So since January, those 3 movies have been in my top 10 and haven't moved. Coda will probably, for me, Coda is an easy dropout out of my top 10. I do think it's I do think it's a good film. I just don't foresee it staying in the top range for me. I don't. I love, like I said, good film. I just don't think that it's going to be in my top at the end of the year.
And Mass comes out in early October. So for those
October 8th,
who are like me, waiting to see it, I know you and Jacob both loved it, and
Jacob likes it a lot more than I do.
It's a rare situation where you both have something like right up at the top.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me is how it's going to be interesting to see how it's received by regular old general public, because it's not an easy watch at all. Like, not even remotely close to an easy watch. It's a very hard watch, and people are going to take it certain ways, and it's going to be crazy. And I can't wait for it, because I think it might be one of the films that has the most discourse of any film that maybe isn't West Side Story this year. And I think West Side Story's discourse is going to have to do with a lot of other reasons why. But
so very hard watch, much like watching Ian Book try to win the job in the New Orleans Saints. See, we brought it full circle for you.
Just like claiming that Sam Ellinger's is a quarterback too. So with that being said, make sure to head on over to Twitter, follow Matthew Fox at Nighthawk7734. Give myself a follow at Ricky Valero _. Give the show a follow, FF Happy Hour Pod. I think that's right. Make sure to head on over to the Music City Drive and check out all of our latest content that we've got pumping out there daily, whether it's movies, music, or football. We also have a lot of shows on the Drive-In Podcast Network you can check out, from 50 Years of Music to the Film Optics Podcast. There's a lot of other shows that I'm forgetting right now, because every time I do this each and every week, I blank on it. So until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.